Welcome back to another video here on Free Will Photos. Today we're going to talk about creating firework images and how to capture them using your camera. Now I have the Canon EOS R6 with me just because it is my primary camera, but it's also a great camera for capturing low light photography such as fireworks. Now let's talk about the settings on the camera. The first thing that I would recommend you do is set your shutter speed anywhere between 8 seconds to 4 seconds. You can play around with this as much as you want. The next area would be your aperture. You want your aperture to be anywhere between f5.6 to f8.0. This is going to yield the best quality of sharpness, and it's going to give you a depth of field that's really good, depending on how far away you are from the photos. So if you're further back, I would opt for maybe an f5.6. Now, if you're closer to the fireworks, like maybe you're sitting in the bleachers, then maybe f5.8 would be better. Now, the last piece that we'll talk about in your exposure is going to be your ISO. I don't recommend you go above ISO 400. This is going to yield plenty of light with the long exposure. You're going to capture your image, and it's okay if it's a little underexposed because you can bring that back in post. Now, obviously, if the area that you're in needs more ISO because it's just way too dark or you're too far away to capture it, then go ahead and bump up your ISO to whatever you need. I wouldn't recommend going above 800 and absolutely no more than 1600. Let's talk about some extra tips. One, you want to set up early. Get to your location and set up early. I would recommend being there at least an hour before the show starts. That way you don't have to fumble around with your equipment, and if you have to walk into a location, you got time to walk there, get set up, and get ready. Take some nice warm clothes with you because it is the summertime here in the States, but you know, if you're photographing in a place where it's cold or windy, then you definitely want to take something with you that's going to keep you warm. Take some food and snacks with you. Having some snacks with you is just going to make the experience that much more pleasant. The other thing that I recommend you take with you is a flashlight. This is just going to help you if you're in a low light situation, so you can pull that out, flash it over your camera bag if necessary, grab your lens and swap out your lens. Now, if your camera doesn't have illuminated buttons like the EOS R6 and you need to be able to see what you're doing, then having that flashlight definitely going to come in handy. So if you're finding value in today's content, go ahead and smash the like button. And if you want to see more, consider subscribing. So now that we talked about having your camera in a stable place, what if you are sitting inside of the bleachers and you need to be able to photograph handheld because having a tripod just isn't feasible? Well, let's go ahead and take a look at that. I would recommend you have a shutter speed of 1/400th of a second, and your aperture should probably be somewhere between f4 and 5.6 because you need more light. You need to compensate for the light. Now, this is where your ISO is really going to have to be bumped up, and I would probably say that you'll need to bump your ISO up to 3200 and maybe even more. You can go ISO auto for this as well. And then I would recommend that you don't use autofocus. Instead, use manual focus because you're going to be far enough away. What you don't want your camera doing is hunting for something to focus on when you're hand holding it and you're aiming up in the sky, because it might miss focus and then you'll miss the shot. I recommend you go manual focusing with this. And the easiest way to set that up is to put your camera at infinity. If you're far enough back, you can set your focus to infinity and you'll be good to go. If you don't know how to set up infinity focus on your camera, that's perfectly fine. What you'll do instead is you'll set up your camera to back button focus. If you don't understand what back button focus is, go ahead and take a quick search on YouTube. You'll find that. Now, once you have your camera set to back button focus, when the first group of fireworks goes off, what you're going to do is use the back button focus to autofocus on your subject or the firework. And once it's set, check sharpness on the back of your camera. And if your image is sharp, then you're probably good to go. From this point forward, don't refocus. Just use your shutter button and take your photos. Now, because you're at f5.6 to f8, you're gonna likely have a wide depth of field or a good depth of field that you're not gonna miss focus on most of your fireworks. So if you found value in today's video, smash the like button. If you're new here, consider hitting that subscribe button. And until the next time, I want you to stay inspired and keep creating. Peace.